Hello. Yeah, we'll just go through the opening music just once today. I'm having not the best brain day, but I didn't want to not stream. I thought about not streaming. I'm like, now let me stream at least for a little bit. It'll probably be a shorter stream, though. Just, yeah. I don't know if there's much to say except for just brain not feeling good today. So I'm just gonna play a bit of PowerWash. I've meant to get through more of these levels anyway, and this can be kind of cool and calm and whatever. So, yep, we'll simulate some power washing. I think it's a temple that we actually cleaned in the first power wash because it's power wash 2. They weren't cleaning the interior of the temple that we were in last game. And as the title talked about, like, power wash the world, power wash my mind too, maybe. Just try to calm and ease my mind because I got stuff I'm worried about. So, yeah, let's do this temple interior. I did have it started, but I remember it being also kind of tricky. But yeah, I'll probably I might just go to 6 p.m. today and then just cut off at about 2 hours. Because again, I'm trying to be a little more conscious of, like, am I having fun doing it, or am I just like twist my arm to go longer than I'm actually willing to? So I'm also gonna hope that I can be heard over the power washer. If not, tell me if the power washer is a little too loud and I can just drop the game sound a little bit. Cleaning the dirt away. Suppose we'll see if I feel like being chatty today or not. But if not, yeah, just again, brain don't feel good today. So part of what I'm needing to concern myself with is what I'm wanting to put up on YouTube. I have ideas, but just due to brain not wanting to brain quite right, I'm being indecisive about it in a way I don't need to be indecisive about it per se, but then again, my brain is my brain, so I'm gonna want to overthink whatever it is, or just like not be able to make a decision due to decision paralysis. So ooh, a twofer. Nice. Gotta get it all clean. So the 2 videos I'm thinking of, because I do have someone that's going to be willing to edit for me. I just need to decide what I want them to do. What are the 2 ideas? One is after the Gears of War E-Day beta is done, I'll give thoughts on it. I think I mentioned that already. Then the other is talking about probably not new ground about how WWE is foolishly trying to, or silly, or in a silly way, or whatever way you want to frame it, trying to counter program AEW. I don't know if it's any new ground, but I'll be able to say it and say that I said it. So that might be. Those probably would be 2 videos going up soon. I wanted them also to stream like Twitch highlights, but I don't know how often there's like a need for like a 10 to 15 minute bunch of highlights for a lot of my streams. So that made this idea I'll just shelf for the time being and get back to later. I need to get back to that person and finish our conversation. Or I guess like restart it, because I told him I need some time to think about. I think just like think in general. I don't think there's any like particular thing I needed to think about, really. I just needed to like think through it in my overthinking way. And then eventually come to the decision I was probably gonna make anyway. My brain is my brain. That's the thing I've known about for 20 years. Between you and me, I just don't. On your brain. Shit. Yeah. I try to be careful to not. It's the reason I go out of my way to not let myself get too negative on things. Because it can just get stuck and become a cycle and all of that, so. I do my best to not be like super hyper pessimistic, because I know I can just kind of spiral downwards and just keep reinforcing things and all of that, and then there's my sometimes inability to not know what's going on in the news. That's why the goal I've mentioned keeps being take a break from staring into the IRL void. I'm pretty sure I've stressed it before. I've stated it before, but I'll state it again. It's important. I want to keep trying to do my best to make this a time for me and maybe even for others in the future who want to show up and watch, to just, at least for the most part, forget what's going on in the world, forget what's going on in their lives or whatever. So, just, even if it's just for a few hours, just have fun with video games or discussing something cool or fascinating, or just sit here and just listen to this power washer, because this is some nice white noise. It's good. That's why it's good for being a calming game, because it can just, it's beautiful white noise. So, and this is low stakes, no stakes, actually very straightforward game. You're just washing stuff. You get that rewarding ding as you clean something, which can be very nice. What are they talking about? Yeah, I don't know a good way to check that, but nope. Shoot. Okay. Well, I know there's dirt right there. Fill up fire tune nozzle to get all of that. So, white noise, rain down here. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be raining around this area soon. I think actually there was a thunderstorm warning here, and it was ending at about time I started to stream. I didn't hear or see any rain, but I mean, in our general area, actually most of our state of North Carolina, actually we need a lot of rain, because we're in various types of drought conditions. There's a few areas that apparently aren't in a drought at all, but there's still a lot of it that's under drought conditions still. So we need the rain, which I think there's supposed to be the joke about like older people or just white people like, yeah, well, we needed that rain. We need this, you know. But also in this case, like it's true, we do need the rain. Because there's been like various lakes that are low in level, and just a few cities have at least like some low level water restrictions. I don't know if we'd want a hurricane to blow through here per se, but we'd have to be mindful about it because, oh yeah, lots of rainfall, but oh, like the ground can't absorb it all and it just causes flooding, which would be its own problem. So, definitely a thing of, yeah, we need rain, but it needs to be kind of in the right way. It needs to be in the right amount. It needs to be over time, not all at once, kind of thing. There. Watch that. I need to do another layer. And there's the whatever that is underneath. Go with green. Green does a pretty good area and can knock off quite a bit. Wonder if I could. Trying to remember the controls. Let's soap it and see if that does it. Soap, soap, soap. Soapy, soap, soap. Get it all clean. Get soapy, soap, soap. Okay. And rinse that off. There we go. That did it. Indeed, soap. Most of this stuff in here should be coming off with just a regular sprayer, but there's whatever was on here that's gonna either take a more powerful pressure washer around top of it or soap. I still don't quite. I think I know. Well, I think I understand how they changed the mechanic for the last one. The last one is like you can buy like a thing of soap and use soap for a short time. You know, here it seems like it's infinite. You can just soap whatever. It just doesn't have to go back over a second time and rinse it off. And it may have been a thing of they meant it to be kind of like, oh, it makes it a more challenging thing, but it's kind of like a unnecessary challenge. Because the game can be more about just, relax, have fun and all of that. And yeah, you could soap everything and then rinse over the power washer, but then you're soaping everything and then you're going back a second time to power wash it, and that can be considered highly inefficient when a lot of the time you can just run the power washer over it and that's it. You don't need to you don't have to soap everything first, but you can if you want to. It's just, again, it would take you forever in a day because you have to, again, wash the soap off at that point. And maybe there is some limit that they have if you can only put so much soap out before, like, whatever the reason might be. I don't know what it would be, but there we go. Again, I'm still probably like maybe slightly sometimes defaulting to the controls from the first power wash. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just not remembering because I won't say it's been forever since I've played this, but I don't think I've streamed this. It does, I haven't played this offline at some point, but I probably have. I think technically I played it offline when I was seeing Byron last weekend because we did split screen co-op, but then they have it programmed weird where if you do split screen co-op, it seems like it just completely copies the control scheme of the host player. the main player one, which for the most part is not bad, but Byron has to play everything with the inverted y-axis. Never played the first one. The first one's worth playing too. It is. It's still worth playing. There's still some neat levels, and it's got a very interesting story to it, which I know is like, it's PowerWash Simulator. Why is there a story? There's a story. It's a really fascinating, like, story. It truly is. And this still probably kind of continues it, but it's something that's more than could be for the story to be like, oh, you're trying to make, a great power washing company or whatever, but that's not what the story is. There's something else entirely. But yeah, definitely play both. For sure. I highly recommend it. They're both worth playing. Just to get all the levels. And maybe there's something in the way the first one does it that you prefer over the second one. I don't think I really got a preference. I think I like both. Something that I would probably miss if I were playing the first, whenever I would play first Power Wash, would be this type of thing. DLC for I've got all of the DLC and played through all the DLC for the first one. The second one, I haven't touched the DLC yet because I wanted to get through the main levels first. But I've been slow to keep playing this for whatever reason. But I want to get the DLC for this game too. But yeah, I've gotten all the DLC for the first one. Both the free and the paid DLC for the first game. And they also added a bunch of levels in. They added some missions for free. I think it's the Muckington files, I think, is the free stuff for the first Power Wash. The Muckerton files. So, yeah, pretty sure I've beat every level in the first one. I know that for this one, they've had the DLCs of Adventure Time and Star Wars. In particular, it'd be it'd be like you're playing like the original trilogy levels there, because it's like I think you're washing an AT-AT, you're washing an X-wing. I don't remember where else I've seen, but yeah, I'll get those DLCs at some point. I think I technically have Microsoft credit for them. I could buy them. I just brain says no, not right now. Once again, going back to my brain is my brain, and it works in its mysterious and sometimes very annoying ways. Though in part I can understand why my brain's working like that. It's like, well, finish the original levels first, then buy the DLCs. Which I guess that makes sense. Of course, on the counter, you're like, oh, but you're going to play them anyway, right? I was like, yes, but I'm not done yet. I want to buy them yet. I just stick with that. Watching TV regularly stopped for me a long time ago. By the time Adventure Time had been on there, I think I was out of the routine of watching TV regularly, but I've seen a few episodes here and there. I know people that love the show and all that. I haven't watched it start to finish, but that's one of the, 50,000 pieces of media that I haven't watched or read or played, but I know a lot of references from it. I know generally what happens in it through people around me and through just online. I know that there's the one guy that's going unacceptable. I think I know that it's supposed to be it's a post-apocalyptic, most of humanity's gone, I think, type of thing, or after a major calamity in human history. I know that the voice actor for Jake the Dog, Marcus Phoenix, and Bender from Futurama are all the same guy. I know that. Speaking of Jake, I know there's bacon pancakes, and also he had really good advice, and it's one that I'm trying to remember with all this content creation stuff, is the first step to being really good at something is kind of sucking at it, which is the truth. You're not going to be great at whatever it is you're trying to do immediately unless you're just a savant at it. But usually it's just you're going to... Yeah, it's just a very good voice cast. Like, the first time you play some video games, for example, you're gonna have the enemies and the bosses just destroy you. Just straight up. Until eventually you can learn the weapons, you can figure out what your playstyle is, you can learn how the enemies behave, and get better stuff and all of that. And when you're streaming and making YouTube videos, it's going to be stuff you look back later on and you go, ooh, that was so low quality. Like, ooh, I had to make that decision, but you got to start somewhere. And I need to stick more to it. Something I definitely was like, something I was fearful of, and I feel like it's part of what I'm dealing with now, is at a certain point, I would need to start including like other people. A lot of other people would want to be aboard or would be aboard for like, hey, I'll watch, I'll moderate, I'll edit, I'll do this, I'll do that. And for some reason, all that would just like be too much pressure. Like, too much pressure, and then just like bail. And now these people are out of a thing they may have really wanted to do. And also, I've also now started to pay money for things. So now to think a little more of like, well, I mean, I don't want to just burn money. I'll put money into it. I need to like stick with it. So it'd be a thing of, I don't want to be committing money to this person editing a video and like somehow back out of it or it not be the best that it can be. I want to do it. Especially now there'd be somebody like, I don't say like relying on me for income, but it's like, yeah, now there's someone that like wants to do this stuff. And I want to take advantage of, hey, I got this person willing to help me do stuff. But now there's money on the line, so I have to like do it well. And I have to just, at certain points, like do, of course, the money things I have to be mindful until I have money coming in. I can certainly still spend some money. But I only have to be mindful at a certain point. I might just be like, okay, I'm into like super duper lockdown. I can't spend another penny if I don't absolutely have to. I probably have... So I keep paying this person to do that, but I have to be mindful of, I can't just pay them to do everything. I have to be kind of selective about what I ask them to do. Tom Kenny from SpongeBob, Cat Dog plays Ice King. Yep, Dog Guy plays Marcus, plays Jake. Oh yeah, it's a good voice cast on there for sure. Yeah. So yeah, at a certain point, I just need to do with all of this and just take some chances and just to say I did it. But also something that weighs on my mind and something that weighs on my mind like as a whole is at some point I do need to find job. And I hate job hunting, and I'm still like kind of like half-assing a job hunt. And I might need to move for job to place that's going to be more likely to give me job. So I'm worried about a lot. And I need to do my best to just find out to just enjoy doing something. Yeah, it's dirty. Another great casting. Yeah, I feel like it's a voice cast that I have seen what they do. Again, like the guy who does, Marcus and Bender is someone that he is someone that'd be definitely one of my favorites, because I do love that he's done, because I love Futurama, and Bender's hilarious, and I love Marcus Phoenix in Gears of War. I absolutely love it. So I'd say, at some point I'll watch it. I don't know what I'd watch. I'd probably have to be like, maybe if I'm like dating someone and she really loves it and she can get me to watch it one day. I don't know. Again, my brain does the thing of, well, I want to watch like these 50,000 things, but there's going to be some nebulous reason sometimes why I don't. So, but yeah, I just need to. I need to just do the 2 videos I'm thinking of. And if for whatever reason, in particular money is a thing of like, let me think about this, then I won't make another video for a bit then until I get employed. But I want to make the 2 videos I'm thinking of, which is Gears of War E-Day beta thoughts and any thoughts I have about WWE trying to run shows at the same time as AEW and how I think that's just ridiculous and silly and all of that. So I want to see if I can get those 2 done. And not put the weight of the world on my shoulders. Just need to do it, see what happens. Do that because that's okay. That's clean now. Dirt under this lip. Let's get that clean. British Bubblegum being like, wait a second, I've heard this voice before. It's the lady who played Starfire and Teen Titans. I'm a chunk of my life, I have no idea. Yeah, like, the fun thing about animation is that you'll see that there's some voice actors that are just really, really good, and everybody keeps casting them because they're, really, really good. Random thought, I remember this level having a objective for like clean such and such thing first, but I couldn't find how to do it. I'll see if I can do that achievement another time, I guess. Yeah, I know within voice acting there's a thing people are like, hire like actual voice actors, quit hiring well-known actors, because that can be something that might kind of take you out of it sometimes. Or it's a really well-known voice actor, a really known actor, it's not necessarily a voice actor. But it's fun when you're watching something like, where have I heard this person before? And you get to hear like, oh, they did this other thing too. Awesome. If I go up here. Oh, I know an occasion of, like, hey, I've recognized that voice before. I remember for sure. Trying to remember. So the guy who did Grayson Hunt in Bulletstorm, he voiced a NPC. What was the game? I think it was Rage. I think I want to say it was Rage. It was the game I would have played around the time of Rage. It would have been some point in college. I think it's like great. The guy who did Grayson Hunt did a person in Rage. I think so. I've had that experience. Of course, really good voice actors is where, again, it might be that faint thing, but also it'd be understandable if you missed it because they're so good at changing their voice. Oh, and a great example of great voice acting, Mark Hamill, who was Luke Skywalker in the original Star Wars trilogy, did what people consider to be one of the best animated Jokers, not the best animated Joker in recently. Jennifer Clifford. I would have never guessed it was that voice actress. Yeah, again, just one of those things where if you're good at your job, everybody wants you to do it for them. And also, it's surprising when you see just how wide-ranging some of these people are, and it's just like they'll do some of these like, really, wholesome kid characters. Then you see like, oh, they also play like this really dastardly villain as well, and like, oh, they were like the main baddie in this like really dark game as well. But also they're like, the little kid, and this other show watches a kid, So, and you do good. I know another one that seems like he's everywhere. He did the voice of Hermes from Futurama. I think he did a Green Lantern in some video games and animated projects. Samurai Jack, and a lot of stuff. He just seems like he shows up everywhere. I can't remember his name. I'll remember it if I ever see it again. But there's actually a quest that I did in Starfield. I think it's like when you go and visit your parents. They're living on the first planet you go to when you can travel. And they're voiced by the guy who did Tuvok in Star Trek The Next Generation. Can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. And Nana Visitor, who did who's Kira Nerys in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So for Star Trek people like myself, like, oh my god, like canonically in Starfield, like Tuvok and Kira are my parents. Awesome. So I had to go do that quest just for that. It was awesome to do that. I know that Nana Visitor is one that I get surprised to see how many other times she's popped up in other stuff as well. Because again, really good at your job. People will be like, hey, why don't you do a guest role? Go on in. definitely watch Deep Space Nine. It's something that, because it's so episodic and it's like unlike Next Generation, where each episode's kind of its own bubble, Deep Space Nine does just overarching stories, and it's probably also, at least with the, we'll call it the next generation era of Star Trek, like 80s, 90s, early 2000s. DS9 is probably the darkest of them all because it raises a lot of questions that kind of become just about how far do you go to. There's times where they literally would be asking during the Dominion War, it's like, how far do you go to save paradise? Because this is humanity and just the Federation as a whole being post scarcity, post people not having what they need. People have everything that they want, and it's everybody being able to do whatever they want. So how far do you go? How much do you restrict people? How much do you like not trust people? How far do you go to save paradise? And Dad would also tell you like it's cool because there's like space battles and all that, which, yeah, that's cool too. But it's something that just it is really awesome to. It's just an awesome series overall. And there's things that they will, will happen there. And it just, Star Trek has always been one to want to push a very progressive view of the world, and where diversity is celebrated from the beginning. And there's some of them early on that may not age very well because they couldn't quite go as far as they wanted to with whatever thing they were going with. So they had to kind of like scale it back and not be as representational as they wanted. But DS9 feels like it aged so much better. If I ever played any of the Trek games, I played a little bit of Star Trek Online from time to time. I don't think MMOs are really my thing, though, unless it's GTA Online. I know that I think it was Dad's birthday, I brought my Xbox over. We played a demo of a game where it's trying to emulate, at least through like stories and decisions and all of that, getting Voyager back from the Delta Quadrant, which is 70,000 light years away from Federation space, back to the Alpha/Beta Quadrant. Because Voyager's premise is early on, something, I can't quite remember what it is now, but something happened to where the Voyager got yoinked from Alpha/Beta Quadrant 70,000 light years away to the Delta Quadrant, which is a problem because if they went maximum warp, it would take them 70 years. I think maximum warp might be like warp 9, warp 10. So you're talking 70 to 75 years, because I think every warp is you can go like a light year. I think that's how it is. And I don't know how long it is, but it's like you're going, well, probably like you can travel like, if you go warp 1, you can go as far as light does in a year, which light travels really, really fast. So Voyager, the whole premise of the series for Voyager is they're trying to get back to like Federation space. And with that, it's not in some ways DS9, it's what rules do you manipulate in order to get your crew back home in a timely manner? Because there's going to be a lot of violating the Prime directive of don't interfere with species and don't pick sides and all of that. But with Voyager, it'd be so fascinating to do whatever, I can't remember the name of the game now. But I'm pretty sure I still have the demo. I can probably look at like Star Trek and find it. And with this game, it's like, okay, well, now you're going to take the place of like Janeway and you make the decisions. Okay. In Voyager, they, didn't help this species, but you choose to, how does that change everything? And crew members can die and all that. Star Trek Elite Force. I don't think I have, but it's also possible I played it and just didn't remember what the name was. I also feel like there's probably like a light game or light gun game in arcades that I'm almost certain me and Dad probably played this a few times. Probably didn't play quite as many Star Trek games because, for one, didn't seem there were a lot of them, and then also it might be a thing of were the Star Trek games like really any good, and there's some good ones. Star Trek Online's fascinating because you can explore the Star Trek universe, not like, not necessarily like during anything that happens in the shows, but like probably after all of that, and you can, meet characters from the series. For example, you can meet Worf in Star Trek Online, which Worf is probably my favorite character out of all of Star Trek. Potentially, as we talk about, I think, so I know that Worf, Miles O'Brien, Keiko O'Brien, Miles' wife, I know that I know like Worf has appeared, like Michael Dorn, the actor for Worf, has appeared in the most Star Trek ever. And Miles O'Brien, Calm Meanly, who plays O'Brien, is probably in second place for who's appeared in the most Star Trek, because Worf was one of the main characters on Next Generation. He was, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Chief Security Officer of the Enterprise. And then they brought him over to DS9 because of the Dominion War, and then Miles O'Brien occasionally appeared on Next Generation, and then apparently he transferred over to DS9 to try to help set up the space station. So you got more of Miles O'Brien, which was amazing. And Deep Space Nine, just Star Trek as a whole is good, but Deep Space Nine I loved. Elite Forces Quake 3 with a Star Trek Voyager skin. If I played it, I don't remember. It sounds like it would potentially be good, because with that, because I know that Captain Janeway, who's the captain of Voyager, is definitely one where she's very much just to be like, you know what, no, screw it. This needs to be done, so I'm going to do it. I know there's the joke of, there's like a picture of Janeway, like, with a phaser rifle, like, not like in her full uniform, but it's like, there's the right way, there's the wrong way, then there's the Janeway. Yeah, Janeway is a lot like Benjamin Sisko, the captain / commander of Deep Space Nine, where it's just like, okay, look, this is an extreme situation. I need to get this done. So it wouldn't be surprising for you to very easily justify. That's just like, you're in the Delta Quadrant, so there's no Federation there. There's probably no equivalent to the Federation there. So there's probably a lot of fights. There'd be a thing of like, and then Janeway decided they had to whoop some ass. So, if I were to guess, they're telling me like it's a first-person shooter and it's got like Voyager with it. It's like Janeway's probably fixing a problem. I guess also it's like, may not be Janeway, it might just be some members of the crew, because what's happening at the beginning of Voyager is that Voyager's going after the Maquis, who are a separatist terrorist group that weren't happy that the Federation and the Cardassians made like a neutral zone and told a bunch of Federation citizens they have to go. So the Maquis are like, no, we don't like this. We're going to, fight the Cardassians, even though the Federation won't. And what happens is somehow the Voyager and the Marquis ship get sucked to the Delta Quadrant. So the Voyager crew is actually a mix of Starfleet and Maquis. And that's something that, at least for a bit, is like a point of contention. We probably definitely could understand that some of the members of the crew, they don't get the Federation's reluctance for violence. So it'd be easy to justify it. So maybe at some point I'll see if I can hunt it down and at least see what it's like. Heck, I might be crazy and think about streaming at some point, but I say this and then I know I will freaking forget it. So let me just write this down. Star Trek Elite False. Okay. So hopefully I'll remember and look into it at some point. It'll probably be, well, maybe at any point, but if I'm going to want to play it potentially, it might be at some point. Who knows? But let me stop trying to plan everything out, man. I'm certain if I have to buy, I'm almost certain I'd have to buy it. It wouldn't be that much. I have to also remember that I have my thing right now about like spending money. It's like there's a certain amount of money that I just need to spend because it's not going to like save me in the long run. Now, depending on how much it might cost to like pay a person to edit videos, I'd have to be careful because I still need to figure out what price I'm going to be paying that person. I want to be careful that I like. Above all, I want to pay this person a fair price to edit videos for me and do stuff for me. I don't want to say, well, you can use this. No, F getting a discount, man. They deserve what they deserve. So I need to figure out that cost. Once I know that cost, I can figure out better, like, okay, how much can I ask them to do versus how much I might be like, hey, I got ideas, but like I don't feel like I got the funds to like keep asking you to do something. So yeah. Pretty much Quake 3, but instead of Quake, it's Star Trek Voyager. Yeah, I'll be interested to see it because, well, at least with like, when you look at like the 3, because we'll put Enterprise aside, because Enterprise is actually the 4th one in that collection of, we'll call it like the Next Generation era of Trek. Next Generation is Federation trying your best. Jean-Luc Picard, the captain, Jean-Luc Picard, is like the example of how you should be in Starfleet. He's the most he tries not to violate the Prime Directive. He seems like always can find a way to negotiate things out and figure out problems. He's the ideal. If there's going to be someone that studied at Starfleet for decades and millennia to come in Starfleet, it's going to be Jean-Luc Picard. Benjamin Sisko, DS9, is the one of we're at war, there's existential threat. It's not going to ask you kindly to do something. At some point, you might have to be like, you know what, this isn't necessarily a nice thing to do, but do what I gotta do. And probably a thing or two also that could be considered a war crime. But war is war. And Janeway in Voyager is all about we have to survive. We're far, far away from everything, and we may not be able to ask for help. Might have to take the help and take it by force and do things that aren't ethical, but it's that or we die. So, I mean, Deep Space Nine probably the one that I feel would probably fit the best for a first-person shooter because there's the Dominion War going on. Of course, you could also just do the Klingons as a whole because they're a warrior species. But Voyager, I guess not Next Generation, pretty much. Again, with Voyager, you can easily come up with a story for it. DS9, there's the whole war going on, so it should be interesting. I'll at least look at it and see if I can deduce or just figure out like where it is in the Voyager lore and all of that, because what they might be doing is, if I were to just hazard to guess, not knowing, is that something has happened where they have to like rescue people or they got into trouble or something. It's like telling a backstory. Got 99 2000. Yeah, that sounds right. Windows 98. But I'm also feeling pretty certain someone has definitely found a way to emulate it. Could Star Trek be one of the big sci-fi series? And when you hear some of the descriptions about how the fans were over the years, because you had the OG Star Trek in the late 60s, and it wasn't until 88, 89, almost 20 years later, that you got more Star Trek. So for 20 years, people just really passionate about it and campaigning for it, and the actors were going to conventions and meeting with fans and all of that. And it's stuff that we see just as a norm today for all sorts of franchises and series and IPs. And Star Trek actors were the OG actors were doing it first. This is all before the internet. So Star Wars also will be getting that too, because there's a picture that I've seen of a young woman, it been like, late 70s, who had made a outfit of, I think it's like a rebel pilot. But remember, this is like, 77, 78. So it isn't like, oh, let me go rent the video at the store or something. That wasn't necessarily a thing. So for this woman to make this rebel pilot outfit, theoretically should have to like watch the movie in a theater and somehow take notes in the dark. So it's something that's just, it's amazing, man. When people love a series, man, they'll find ways to make the costumes meet the actors, push for more and all that. So yeah, like Star Trek being so beloved, there's people that have probably found a way to emulate it at this point. I don't know if it's been remastered, I don't know, but more than likely it's probably just to find a way to emulate it to play it. So yeah, it's something I'll look into, even just to figure out the whole premise of the game, because now I'm a bit curious about what the premise of the game was in full. So alright, I am anticipating once I clean this floor, you're like, hey, look, there's more area. Go window frame. Go window frame. Okay, you're in my way. No, you're not in my way. Window frame. I'm turning the Beavis and Butthead now, no, but just where's the dirty? That's the window. The window to the wall. Oh. Not to mention, where'd you end it? Oh, the castle long gone. OG cast I think is down to, I think 3. Because Shatner's still alive at like 90. I feel like there's like 2 more. I know that I think it's Nicole Nichols is the name of the person who did Ithura. She died a few years ago. Actor who played Chekhov, he was alive long enough to see the J.J. Abrams movies and meet the guy who was playing Chekhov in Abrams' movies. Voyager, I think they're all still alive. DS9, I think there's been a few. I know that Rene Auberjonois, who played Odo, he passed away a few years ago. Actually, I think most of DS9 and Next Generation are still alive. They're getting up there in age, but I think most of them are still alive, actually, for the more recent ones. The 90s Star Treks, I know they're still alive for the most part. Again, just getting up there in age. Yeah, I don't think anyone from Voyager passed on yet. I don't think so. I don't think anyone from Next Generation passed. I think there's probably plenty of people that have played like side characters and one-offs that have passed on, because they're getting up there in age. I know Tony Todd, he played Worf's brother a few times, and he's passed away recently. Yeah, I think if you see a lot of the deaths for Star Trek related people, it's going to be a lot of people from the OG, of course, because in the 60s. But you might see be a lot of people who are playing like an alien in like one episode that have passed on. But they still get their respect, as they should. Yeah, I think all of Next Generation's main cast is still alive, actually. like Rene Auberjonois is just, he was, I think, up there in age, I think. That's why I think that, I don't know if I don't know if Rene had cancer or not, but he was an older actor. So, yeah. That's my final answer, boss. It's a final answer. As far as I can recall. As far as I can recall. Okay. Wash, wash, wash. Wash, wash, wash. Hide cleaned. Dough. Was dirty on the dough. So this, okay, this frame is still dirty. Cool, still dirty. George Takei is still alive. That's someone who's still alive from the OG cast. And it's gonna be devastating when George Takei does pass, because he just seems like he's just genuinely a really good dude. And sure, like most, about the entirety of the Star Trek cast for all those shows always seemed like they were genuinely good people. That's clean. Something. The actor who played Chekhov might actually still be alive from the OG cast, now that I think about it. I think he's still alive. I'm trying to think about the OG cast. Floor, and that urn's still dirty. Still dirty. Okay. We gonna get a secret passage here soon, I know it. Y'all probably had a bomb explode. That's why it got so dirty everywhere. It was covered in mud and gunk. Hopefully that's all and nothing else. I have this floor washer, Maggie. Did you wash the floor? What a novel concept. All the cryptic secrets. I wanted to rename it the Cryptic, but got overruled. No one has set foot inside of over 700 years. Mysterious devices waiting for you down there with messages from an old friend. But one of the levels in this game, as you might be aware, is a bathroom. So maybe that particular level is brought to you by Taco Bell. Taco Bell's the people who are joked it caused lots of people diarrhea, but then when there was potentially diarrhea causing lettuce, they were the one that called it out first. Because our current government kind of blows. But anyway. Deep lore. In the temple interior, descend the stairs. Ooh. Okay. Well, let's get these stairs cleaned first. with this edge. Wasn't the edge of glory. I know lots of random song references. Get that done. Paint the achievement. It's covered in whatever this is, not gunk or mud or whatever. Scrub-a-dub-dub. Do-do-do. Scrub-a-dub-dub. Of course, for all I know, maybe this is pudding. I don't know why they're putting everywhere, but maybe. I just know I got to clean it, because it's dirty. Very, very dirty. Check the time, trying to see how far I might actually. Yeah, because some of these levels might take a while. Some of these levels do seem like they take a while. It seems like overall, these levels take a little bit longer. For the most part, these levels take longer than they do in the first PowerWash, which I like. Gives you more to do. Some maybe complexity, and maybe also just like they're maybe a little bit bigger. Of course, some of the ones in the first PowerWash also can take you a while too, because those two are quite large. Gotta clean the stairs, then I'll try to clean the walls along the stairs and the ceiling above it too. Be very interesting to see what's on that device. Stairs are clean. Let's get these walls clean now. Pudding, all I can think of is that scene from San Andreas. What look I'm made of? Pudding? Is I'm trying to remember what that been from. Is that since it's something where somewhere like CJ, if you make CJ be like overweight, it's how that some CJ would say when he's overweight. In that game, he'd make him have too much fat. I think I usually try to keep CJ probably, I think, usually very muscular. That way he can do more punching damage. Of course, I know that there's like one of the girlfriends in that game. They're like, well, you eat steroids for breakfast. So you had to change your body type based upon which girlfriend you wanted to date. And I think there was, well, they made like the first one you find, like, what's her name, like, I think it was like Denise or whatever. She don't care. She just wants to date you. Most of the rest had some preference, like you couldn't be too fat or too skinny or too muscular or too not muscular. one random line I remember CJ saying in that game is, there's at least, I think maybe like one time I stole a car. He's like, you should have locked the door, which they should have. Nobody locks their door in GTA, it seems like. Everybody just drives around, the door's unlocked, which, not a good idea. I always lock my doors. Of course, also, once my car goes like 15 miles per hour, it automatically locks the door, so I can't get carjacked unless someone wants to like bust out my window, which I hope they don't, because I like my window. I like my car. I'm getting up there in age, but I like my car. That's clean. Yeah, is the looks like I made a pudding line from CJ just being too plump, or is it like just a scene I just don't remember because there's so much in that game. Yeah, it's been a minute since I played it too, so. Try the mission where you have to do off-road checkpoints and a monster truck. That might be something that either I didn't do or I didn't do long enough for it to like engrave in my brain. Because there is one more line I do remember from San Andreas, and it's the last one he said to Officer Tenpenny, because at the beginning, Tenpenny's like screwing with you, and he's like, I'll see you around, CJ. See you around, Carl. And the last thing CJ does when you defeat Tenpenny's like, see you around, officer. Just one last little FU to him. It actually took me getting the definitive edition of GTA San Andreas to finally beat that. Which I don't know if it's just like quality of life updates or just I've gotten better or just for whatever reason I just like managed to get through it the next time, but just, yeah, the original San Andreas, I didn't actually beat. I got really close and then I just didn't finish it. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson did a very good, he's a great actor. But we know we're talking about earlier that people might get a little, understandably so, a little bit like, hey, you know why we always keep getting like well-known actors to be doing voice roles and all that. But Samuel L. Jackson did a very good job of it. Because when you're getting with video games, especially something as grand as the scale of a Rockstar game, at a certain point, you can understand needing to get a celebrity, but also I think I saw like in past like a headline, like somebody at Rockstar Games talking about like, yeah, we don't like dealing with, big star actors because it might be something like, oh, they like kind of like seeming like thumb their nose at video games or whatever. They like don't take it seriously or something like that. Which means some A-list actor doesn't want to take a role in a Rockstar game seriously, I'll do it. But there also can be an advantage to getting people that aren't well known for movies and all that, because you don't have this thing of, oh, I know this person from so-and-so. So, for example, if you were to get like Harrison Ford for something, for example, people are like, oh, well, that's Han Solo or that's Indiana Jones. And it might be like, you don't want that. You want it to be like, no, this actor is this thing. And when you look at the main cast for Star Trek stuff, it's people that you don't know from anywhere else, or you don't, or it's just like they're not well known enough to be like, yeah, I know them as blah blah blah. It's like Jean-Luc Picard had done stuff, but because Jean-Luc wasn't like the big time star in like early '80s, apparently it's now like Patrick Stewart is Jean-Luc Picard. I know that Dad had said that he kind of didn't like I think Scott Bakula is the one who did the Captain Archer Enterprise. He's like, he didn't really like that casting because it's like, but Bakula from other stuff, so I want to say like it's impossible to see him just as Captain Archer, but like, yeah, there can certainly be a give and take for if you want well-known people or not for your role. Because if you get a well-known actor, well, you're like, ooh, so-and-so is in this thing. I like that person. Let me go watch it. Also, it might be a thing of you know them from something else, and it doesn't tell the story as well. Versus a brand new actor that you can just see the character, not the actor. You know, so. Unknown number. Hello, old friend, your time-traveling pal, Cerulean Sky here. Remember when we neutralized Mount Rushless and saved the world together a couple of years back? Good times. Well, we need your help again. Okay. Guess we'll see what that's about later. I feel like I have to sneeze with the sneeze of the noise. Come on, sneeze. Either come out or go away. Good lord. I don't think I have to sneeze now. I'm hearing thunder outside, so if I'm just randomly go offline without warning, power went out for a second. Or went out entirely. One of the two. You know, more likely the power's going to go out for a second. So. Hi. Yes, thunder, I know. Cat. Cat. Hi. No. Good. What you watch? There we go. So it's a time-honored thing of, hey, remember this actor from that good thing you like? Well, we're bringing them back when they're old as and far past their prime. That's probably the general thing, like Hollywood just like, hey, this is popular in the past, let's bring them back. Of course, some actors are just great no matter what you do. You can't expect them to be exactly the same, but they're still freaking awesome. You know, like Patrick Stewart. Well, let's be this correct. Sir Patrick Stewart. With the Picard series, it was clear that Sir Patrick Stewart is not as young as he was in the 80s and 90s. But he can still captivate freaking act. He's still a great actor. It's just they needed stunt doubles to do the more actiony stuff. It's a thing you just have to know when to do it. Well, I think also might be more likelihood that it's like, oh, this actor's 50. Oh, we don't want her in here. She's past 50. You know, that or she can make a grandma. That's it. You know, we can't let her have like any serious roles. So that does seem to be kind of changing, thankfully. But what you would hope for anyone that's been an actor is that they make enough money so that they don't have to come back to act if they don't want to. They come back because they don't come back. They don't come back because like, how do they come back? Because like, I really do like this role. That's two Indiana films, no in the right mind. Yeah, probably not, but like, oh, it's Indiana Jones, and they're probably trying to like revamp it, maybe, or try to pass it off to, what is it, Shia LaBeouf, I think. Who, he's a, well, we don't say, like, he's a card, isn't he? You know. And Harrison Ford probably has the thing of, oh, you want to be Indiana Jones? You gotta pay me? Cool, all I need to know. Or there might be one. I know that that's how he was like Han Solo. He was like, you killed Han Solo in Star Wars. Finally, I think he wanted Han Solo to die like long before he did. But Indiana Jones, he might actually enjoy a bit more. I don't know. Harrison Ford definitely is just one of, he's gonna do what he wants to do, and he's Harrison freaking Ford. I know he was on one of the late night talk shows. I think it was Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's like, I'll give you $10. You give me a tip about give me something about the next Star Wars movie. He took the money. He's like, so here they're making another Star Wars movie. Which, Harrison Ford is a great actor, though. He really is, and he should be allowed to do whatever the hell he wants. Because he's Harrison freaking Ford. But those two Indiana Jones films is probably, it's like, oh, it's Indiana Jones. It'll make money because it's Indiana Jones. No. But maybe it did as well because it's an Indiana Jones movie. Some people have said that about Indy, just recast him. Other recast James Bond. The difference between Indy Jones and James Bond is that James Bond was originally a book series, but meanwhile Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. He is that character. It's where you want to try to frame it as like just like Harrison Ford is also Han Solo. Han Solo is Harrison Ford. So you can't just do it because you'd have to do a complete thing of go back to the beginning and say, okay, here's Indiana Jones' origin story, and we're going to do that. Because with Indiana Jones, it's like there's like a story arc. Meanwhile, I don't want to say there's no story arcs, no connection between the movies and James Bond, but I think it's probably I think it's a thing of like, I know it's based off of a book series, and each book would be maybe standalone, and maybe there's some like, hey, this happened here, so I have to fix this book kind of thing. So with James Bond, it's a little bit different. But also it can be, again, goes back to, but Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford. You can't just replace them, Because I know they did like the origin movie for like Han Solo a few years back, and I just was not really impressed with the actor they picked, because it's a thing of like, you're comparing it to Harrison Ford, who's just charismatic as hell, and the guy they had is just, I don't know, just he didn't have the confidence. I felt like, from what I saw, I mainly didn't watch it, but I know the people that did watch it are like, the actor who they tried to be the young Han Solo just wasn't pulling it off. Because you got to be because Han Solo's freaking charismatic, man. By the 2000s, I feel Ford's acting movies were, Harrison Ford's getting up there in age. It's something where you'd have to find him something else to do. He could definitely may not be action movie star, but just him being him, Harrison Ford being Harrison Ford would be enough of a character. You don't need him to be, Han Solo or Indiana Jones or anything like that. You could just have him just being, the guy like, yeah, I used to be like that kid, and let me tell you why you're going to be a stupid idiot, and just, it could be just probably like perpetually a thing from time to time of, like in the Indiana Jones movies where the guys like swinging the scimitar around, all that, and Indiana just like just walks off, and just have that be just occasionally what Harrison Ford is doing, where the young guys try to do something really freaking awesome and all that, and meanwhile Harrison Ford's character walks over and just flips a switch, or just walks up behind the guy and just karate chops him or stabs him with a needle or something. He's like, much easier. Come with me. Also, get that looked at. It might be like a wound on the guy's head because he did something like stupid. It's all about just evolving. And with Harrison Ford, just and natural charisma. He doesn't need to be an action movie here after a while. Yeah. He could and should have been able to do whatever the hell he wants. Because, shoot, we're still talking about we're still talking about Han Solo and Indiana Jones all these years later, all these decades later, let's be precise. So, as long as he was given a good royalty deal, it's one of the things where he shouldn't have to do shit if you don't want to. So, funny things like Harrison Ford actually legit is a pilot. He flies a little plane. I saw a story that talked about I think it was a Boy Scout or some young teen boy that was lost somewhere in, maybe it's Yellowstone or some national park like Yellowstone. And I think the kid was a Boy Scout, because took his belt and reflecting it, a helicopter flying overhead, and the helicopter landed, and he was like, Harrison Ford saved me? What? So depending on his franchise of choice, it's like, wait, Han Solo / Indiana Jones rescued me? What? I want there's one other incident too where he was flying helicopter to help with a rescue operation as well, and people were like, wait, that's Harrison Ford, who just saved us. What? Oh Lord, what? Okay, I might have to start cleaning wall and just. I also know that Michael Dorn, who played Worf in Star Trek, he's also a pilot, a legit pilot as well, which is, I think that's cool. That's just awesome. Someone else that I really hope. Well, I think with Star Trek stuff, I think Harrison Ford and Michael Dorn can probably both go to conventions and command whatever price they want to show up, and they could sell autograph stuff, and they know fans will buy it. They're not gonna try to gouge their fans, but they know that if they sell something neat, their fans will buy it. Their fans will show up to see them, And they've earned that, because they've done great things. Harrison Ford, you watched any of his other movies? This is one where, as I said, I know probably 50,000 different references from a bunch of different media and books and shows. I almost certainly have, but I don't know. Something what's the one where he's the president? It's I feel like I've probably watched that movie, and also The Fugitive. I feel like I've probably watched those movies at least once before, but I also can't discern, do I remember the key scenes about them because I watched them, or is it because they're so well known that I've seen them? So at the end of, I think it's Air Force One, I think is where he's president. He's get off my plane, and kicks the guy off the plane. And then it's him and Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive. I think that's what it is, where it's Harrison Ford's playing a character I didn't kill my wife, and Tommy Lee Jones' character's I don't care. I don't care that you didn't do it. If I recall correctly. But I've almost certainly seen Harrison Ford and other stuff. Again, it's a thing of just I don't recall, but I just know the scene because it's so well known, or to actually watch it, Because I can be bad about watching movies about somebody else being there. But also a thing if someone were to offer me a movie with Harrison Ford in it, I'd be I'll watch it. I'll watch something with Harrison Ford in it. I'm not going to complain, He is a great actor. Harrison Ford's one of those actors where it's Harrison Ford's in it, sold, I'm watching it. Similar to when Jericho was going to AEW, I'm sold, I'm watching AEW. just Jericho had that power. Chris Jericho had that power for me in pro wrestling, and also he was doing the match against Kenny Omega. It's like, you go to New Japan? I'll watch New Japan. Okay, sure, I'll do it. I want to see this match. You know, I'll watch other stuff. These things going back there, cool. I'll watch it. You know, Harrison Ford, one of those people where it's just he's in something, and you're like, oh, I'm sold. I like him. Sold. I don't even know what it is, but sold. And maybe you think for a second, like, I don't know if I'll like it, but it's like, well, I mean, you know, my favorite actor is in it. Let me give it a try, you know. 19, The Widowmaker. I have not heard of it, but Harrison Ford's probably been a bunch of them. I'm pretty sure Harrison Ford might be one of those actors that you go look at his wiki page, and then you go to the list of stuff that he's been in, and that list of stuff he's been in is a whole other wiki article all by itself. Because he's probably been in so much stuff. Both just like as an actor, and then if there's like video game or like he may have done like animated stuff too, for all I know. I don't know. It'd be something again. It's like his wiki page has another wiki page attached to it because he's done so much stuff. You know. Something I can be assured of is that when it's Harrison Ford's time to go to the other side, man, it's just his estate's gonna have so much money from people, like from them watching his stuff, because he's done a lot, and he's done a lot of great stuff as well. So something that would be awesome to do, and something that, you know, just great that for like Robin Williams, for example, had great interview moments. Just Harrison Ford probably a lot of really funny interview moments because Harrison Ford's just so effortlessly just freaking cool and awesome. Yeah, so I should probably look into some more of his movies and watch them at some point, and like go watch movies that I think I've watched or like I know the key scene from, and then just like watch the rest of it. And the reason that I may have watched some of this stuff is probably just because Dad was watching and I was sitting there watching it with him. That's how there's a lot of movies. That's how I've watched them. His dad was watching. I'm like, I'll sit and watch it too. Why not? You know. I thought all of them, like if you watch Studio Ghibli movies, is in part because of Deanna. That's why I watched quite a few of those. Because for a while when we were in college, we watched several Studio Ghibli movies. Now I own some of them. Some that I've watched with her, some that I haven't still haven't watched yet. It's been years. But there's ones that I know that are great, like Princess Mononoke. I hear the great Studio Ghibli / Miyazaki film. Miyazaki being the person who is the director of a lot of Studio Ghibli films, from what I can recall. Check my phone, try to make sure check real quick, make sure there isn't like a special weather storm. Try to make sure they're not going to put out like a tornado warning or something for my area real quick. Let me make sure, because I hear it raining and thundering. So thunderstorms impact the southeastern. Okay, so right now it looks like I'm just being told like, yeah, there's going to be thunderstorms rolling through the area. Let's watch this next. Watch this. Wow. see, once we thought everything was back to normal, we hopped into our universal flux orbiter to go home to 2278. Unfortunately, we were prevented from doing so by an even more cataclysmic event in your very near future. After a brief panic, we knew what we had to do, travel back to the ancient pacifist. Together, we devised a plan. Pacificus. But when we tried to travel forward to enact what, we ran out of time fuel and dropped out in the year 1289. Yeah, a little short of the modern day. Luckily, there was one building nearby that we knew was still standing in your time, this temple. From here, we could send a message forward to you, our only hope, providing this phone's battery holds true. Okay. Guess we'll see what's happening here soon. Yeah, I'll repeat again. Definitely play the first PowerWash if you haven't. It's definitely still very fun. And story unit's fascinating. Can you give me a few more minutes? I think I was getting a little impatient for food, but it ain't quite time to feed her yet, so. Plus, I still might hold to just streaming until 6 p.m. Plus, if it's going to be potentially storm, be a good idea to not be online anyway. But anywho, I'm presuming I'll be able to get this done in the next half hour, so I might see what the next mission is and at least get it started. That is a dragon. K9 the Widowmaker, it's a neat film on a DVD, movie about K-19 Hotel Class Supermarine. Harrison Ford plays one of the sub-captains. I don't think I have watched it, but I wouldn't be opposed to watching it either. Just for some reason, it just hasn't crossed my eyeballs. Like there's like 50 bajillion movies, and also depending upon when it came out, may have been deep in a time where I ain't got nobody making me watch movies, so I ain't watching them. Because for some reason, I can sit and watch without much problem a 2 to 3 hour wrestling show, but a 1.5 to 2 to 3 hour movie, I just can't sometimes. Other times I can do it just fine. So, maybe I'll watch it at some point. Wash, wash, wash. Wash, wash, wash. Have it on DVD. Yeah, so maybe we can watch it at some point. I mean, I can borrow it from you or something, or maybe we can just. Well, if I borrow it, I'm probably like, oh yeah, I should watch it at some point, put it aside, not touch it for months. But yeah, well, we can add it to the list of things we can do at some point. Next time we see each other in person for more than just a wrestling show. Or we just have, like, some time to kill. Who else? That movie? Liam Neeson. Yeah, he's another really good action movie star. I was happy to see, well, one, it's cool he was Qui-Gon Jinn, and two, it's great to see him be able to just be goofy and funny in movies as well. Like the recent reboot of Naked Gun, he was really good in that movie. He was really good at doing the very deadpan movie humor of Naked Gun. Yeah, and just gotta know when to change up what you're doing. So. I've never seen any of the Naked Gun movies. They're very, very, very funny. I know I've seen probably the movies again that I saw probably like 20 different scenes from it, and I haven't actually watched them, but I know the most recent one may have been around Christmas time. Mom, Dad, and myself watched it, and I remember us all really enjoying it. So. I know that one of the most famous scenes, one of my favorite gifs, is Leslie Nielsen's character just saying, "Nothing going on here, move along." Behind there's like explosions going on and all of that. All we need you to do is take out the heartstone of the pacifist desert statue, give it a quick 180 flip, and pop it back in again. Couldn't be simpler. You'll know when the time is right. Oh, and don't worry about us. We love it here in the past. After all that jet setting, it's really nice to stay put somewhere, fourth dimensionally speaking. Good. Naked Gun, like Monty Python, levels of humor. I think so. Yeah, I think that's a. I think if you like one, you'd like the other. Because it's very silly humor. And definitely can be very good at parodying stuff. Speaking of good at parodying stuff, I know that there's a movie, The Last Action Hero, that's had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. That was great at parodying how action movies can be sometimes. But the premise is that there's a kid that really likes action movies, and so he gets sucked into an action movie with his favorite action movie hero. And throughout, the kid's pointing out to him all the time, is like, you're in a movie, and just pointing like, putting over like 555 and other things. And I actually knew a scene from that movie before I'd seen it, where the main villain also discovers his power to go between realities, pretty much. And he shoots someone's like, "Hello, I just shot somebody. I did it on purpose." Yeah, it's one that just, I forgot why it is me and Dad watched it. One time we did watch it, and I just was like, yeah, that was pretty good, like early 90s, like, I want to say like a more serious parody of action movies, but it was one where they were clearly calling out the tropes and somewhat mocking them sometimes. The name of that movie is Last Action Hero. Skip the wall. Keep skipping the wall. Alright, wall. Okay, what else is left? Let's see. Okay, yeah, that counts for that. Okay, I understand that. Beam, dragon statue, floor, pillars. Yep, all that makes sense. Okay. Trying to miss anything like super obvious. Okay. Washing it down, making it clean. We'll wash this upper edge first. Watch this. Boom. I think there has died down. And I wasn't really hearing the rain over here either, but it's possible that like it has blown through now. Blown through our entire area. I'm not gonna get up and look. I don't hear like thunder anymore, which is nice. Actually, if you get on the inside of these beams, you get those clean. You just clean the pillar. Clean the pillar. Get it nice and clean and sparkly. Oh, yeah. Okay, those are the statues. God was watering his garden, yeah. That's the way it could be viewed. Yeah, you remember like, oh, I gotta water this. Oh, let me water it real quick. One way to view it for sure. And what are some of the other things that are said? You know, like if there's thunder, like, oh, God's bowling. You know, it's one for if there's thunder. There'd probably also be a thing like, you know, so and so, or something was like crying, and that was the rain. Yeah. As I said earlier, we need the rain around here. We keep being in drought conditions, so. Whatever can help us not be in drought conditions, Domo. I will take it. Well, like I was going anywhere for the past, like, 2 hours anyway, so. Yes, coming along quite nicely. This will take me to a little beyond 6 p.m. Plan there. Cerulean, only one problem. Someone's stolen the gems. That is a problem. That do be a problem. Drought is in its hottest or drought as in like this area is going to be a wasteland. Just drought as in we have less rainfall than we should. It can come from just being way too hot. Also can probably be pleasant as can be, but there's just no rainfall. Nothing should turn to a wasteland because of drought. But yes, humans seem to have a propensity to screw stuff up. But there's probably also usually going to be, well, no, humans have very quickly screwed an area over and made it be in a perpetual drought and then killed it. What am I talking about? That's probably because we just redirected too much water. But there's other areas that are going to turn into a wasteland. Oh, but it's because it originally was a desert in the first place, and we made it not a desert. Oh, so. But again, at least where we're at, like, it's just drought as in we don't have as much rain as we should, and stuff's a little bit drier than it should. This is really what it's all about. Nothing should be turning into a wasteland in this area. Because if you want the ultimate thing, if it doesn't require it to be hot, to have a drought, or to be dry, I believe like the area with the longest drought ever is a area in Antarctica. It is technically by like rainfall that's been recorded in an area. A spot in Antarctica has had the biggest drought or the least rainfall ever. Yes, the continent that's perpetually under ice, but there's just no kind of precipitation happening in that area. So if it weren't at the South Pole and covered in ice, it would just be straight up a desert as we know it, as we understand it. Of course, it probably doesn't have any ice or snow there anyway, which is how we know that. Just again, like no snowfall or anything equivalent happens in that area in Antarctica. So, but all we have to be concerned with at the moment is like don't burn stuff outside if you don't have to. And if you absolutely do feel the need to, make sure you've got something to control the fire. But again, don't burn stuff outside if you don't have to when there's drought conditions. Doesn't also always get common rain year round. In order for it to be triggered as a drought, it needs to be that it's below what's expected. So if an area expects, let's say, 50 inches of rainfall throughout the year, and by summertime they usually get, let's say, 30, but they're only at 25, then I don't know if that triggers as a drought per se, but it's like you can start having that problem. And it might be a thing of like, oh yeah, we got rainfall, but it's not enough. Probably depending upon exactly how droughts are measured, because it's by water level, then that can just be a problem, like we're overusing it. But I just do remember for the longest time that throughout the summer it'd be really, really hot, and then it would thunderstorm a lot of nights. And I haven't seen it do that in way too many years, which proves that humans are causing global climate change, and we need to go to green energy. Yeah, we do. And we can. And green energy, like solar and wind, do a great job producing power. But even if we go to all green energy, tomorrow is going to take probably some years for the climate to heal. But just we haven't gotten the rainfall that we should be getting. Because it has gotten bad to where I think it's like in the Raleigh area, they're having to implement, I don't know if it was like in Raleigh or around Raleigh, they're having to implement some like low level water restrictions for people. And various lakes keep being, many inches, maybe even feet below where they should be. So it's a thing like we're technically in a drought. If you're wanting to think drought means, oh, it's turned into a desert. No, it just means you haven't gotten enough rainfall is all it is. And also deserts don't have to be hot. They can be very, very cold. It just means, desert means that they get pretty much no rainfall, like, ever. That's what makes a desert. So again, my point about, Antarctica, technically the driest desert is in Antarctica because it's not gotten rain or precipitation of any kind in, you're probably talking about hundreds, thousands of years. How can we tell that? Through samples of fossils and soil and all that. And probably just being able to just generally study weather patterns. And just know that, there'd be no reason for rainfall to happen there. Yeah, this is also going to take me a little past 6 p.m. So I'll get this done, and then, again, I'm going to make this a short stream today. Because there's things I have put off that I need to, tend to. So yeah, let me use my floor washer to wash the floor. Wash the floor. I don't know if this is steam or not. It might just be that what it's doing is, I think it's got a bunch of nozzles just spinning continuously. I think that's what we're saying. I don't think this is steam. I think it's just you're seeing a bunch of the water droplets bounce off the floor. Maybe there's steam in it. I don't know. I don't think so. I know it makes flat surfaces clean though, regardless. So. The floor will be nice and clean. Regardless if it's steam or not. Yeah, it might be steam. I don't know. I don't think it is. I think that this is just something that just, you got like nozzles that are probably like that far from the dirt, like just spinning in a circle. So, what we're seeing is not steam, it's just a bunch of water droplets bouncing off of the floor. Because I don't think it's steam. No, I've played the PowerWash Sim games. I'm not a power washing expert. Clean the flow. Get the flow clean. Well, technically I'm a computer science man, so I do love science. I definitely love understanding as much of it as I can. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on a lot of it, but some of loving science and knowing science, just to know the scientific method of just putting out a theory and testing it and retesting it when you need to and updating your conclusions. And most importantly, trusting people whose job it is to know that type of science. And not think that, well, I watched a 15-minute YouTube video and I'm an expert. No, you're not. When you've got people who have spent decades of their lives researching the thing, they know better than you. And also, there's no such thing as scientists. Don't you know this trick? Yes, scientists do. They can't wait to tell you about the cool thing. Because they can get excited, like, I learned this cool thing, I want you to know it too. I don't know how that applies to programming, but to like computer science, but it might be like that where it's like, I don't want to hide stuff from you, I want you to know stuff. I love teaching people. I love people knowing cool stuff. Scientists don't want you to know. Get out of here with that lie. Scientists can be excited to share stuff because it's cool and it's neat. They want somebody to listen to them because nobody else, or anybody probably understands what they're talking about. But, yeah. It's probably not necessarily knowing about science, but it's just knowing about the equipment. There we go. This will work in this area. It'll work real nice. Wash. So dirty with dirt. My old phone, alright. I didn't recognize that, I just didn't like features anywhere. That circle kind of looks like a metal. It kind of looks like a metal detector, yeah. Well, if anything, like a circle just works for some things. A new job is available. Hey, Sprucey, are you free to come back to the house to wash down my car and trailer? Oh, that was fantastic. The way the water hit the wood and all that was amazing. We hope that the wash was illuminating for you as it was for us. Now head forth to fulfill the rest of your prophecy. Professor? Professor? Remember? Just taking it all in. Guess they added a lot since last time I played. These levels were always here. There's just a lot of levels. They had a lot of levels by default. So, and back here is just as you complete a level, you get one of these things, so you can more quickly just go and do the level you want to do in free play. But yeah, there was always a lot of levels in this game by default. So. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna stick to my thing of just leaving this to be a 2-hour stream. There's some things I need to see if I can tend to. Yes. One of these guys is a cat that you do meet in the first game. Ulysses. Yep. Doing this for 2 hours did help, though, and I'm happy that I'm gonna try to stick to streaming whatever my schedule is. For now, it's gonna be the four days a week for 3-ish hours and doing a little shorter if I have to, like this. So yeah, I've got a thing or two I need to tend to that I haven't gotten to all day because my brain just didn't want to function. I should be up to stream tomorrow. Made the now usual again 3 hours, but we'll see. We'll see what I stream tomorrow. Maybe it's Gears E Day, maybe it's something else. We'll see. I'll talk to you later.